Before September 2019, I'd never been on a strike before. I was so privileged in so many areas of my life that striking never really seemed like the thing to do. The first strike I went on was the global climate strike on September 20th in 2019. Myself and some of my colleagues joined the students from Fridays for Future on the streets of London. There was music and there was dancing, and colourful posters with witty slogans were contrasted with stories from students coming from the front lines of the climate crisis. It felt real and it felt like people cared, and there was power in all of us getting together for a cause. And the students were right, and I knew that it was our responsibility too, to keep the momentum up, to continue talking about the climate crisis after the strike was over. And that's when I got inspired by some folks at TEDxClimateActionTech. Now, the strike in September wasn't the first global climate strike. At the previous one, in March 2019, New York-based climate activist Alexandra Villaseñor posted this tweet. Dear New York City, we have 11 years. March 15th is close and I want all to participate. If you aren't striking that day, please go outside at 11 a.m. and strike with us for 11 minutes. Do this wherever you are, for your children, for our future. Thank you. Hashtag 1111 Climate Strike NYC. The Guardian in the US reacted, and they put only climate news on their homepage for 11 minutes that Friday to show their support. And tech workers at Immediate Media in the UK reacted as well and went outside for 11 minutes on that Friday. And they kept it going the next week, and the next week, and the next, because there was something that they had realized. While climate has been part of the news a lot more recently, there's still a disconnect at the workplace. So we see the news, but then we're at work and we're just chatting with colleagues, we're reading emails, we're going to meetings. Everything just seems fine and we just carry on. Situations like this are referred to as implicatory denial or soft climate change denial. It's the state of mind where we know that the climate crisis is real, and we felt summer's getting hotter, and we understand and know the facts, but we minimize and evade and deny the implications. It's like we're super selective about the reality that we accept. And there is massive privilege in that as well, because if you're on the front lines of the climate crisis, then it's really hard to deny that what's going on is a crisis. So maybe at work you sometimes wonder as well whether your colleagues who are just going about their work are as worried or as scared or as sad as you might be because of the state of the world. So what if we could have more conversations with our colleagues? Conversations sharing bad climate news and positive stories, and discussing the entire vastness of the topic and the actions we can take. Spaces where people who might not ever have talked about the climate crisis to anyone can join in and ask questions and learn more. This brings me back to the tweet from the school strikers in New York. 11 minutes at 11 a.m. every Friday to show support for the students. What if we took this framework as a basis to start creating something that creates a space for climate conversations at work? That's exactly what we did after the global climate strike in 2019. And it was important to me, and it was an important thing to do, because we kind of discovered some things that other folks who'd been doing at 1111 before us had discovered as well. Number one, 11 at 11 helped with breaking the climate silence. because the climate crisis is an overwhelming and complex topic, we usually do what we're hardwired to do. We use mental shortcuts to deal with all of this information. And one of the most powerful shortcuts that we use is cues from other people. So here's an example. If I was thinking that taking a walk is a good thing to do, and other people are thinking that as well, but none of us actually take walks or talk about taking walks being a good thing, then I might start thinking that because everyone else thinks it's bad, it must be bad. And exactly the same thing happens when we don't talk about the climate crisis. If nobody else talks about it, and nobody seems to care or seems panicky at all, then I too stay silent. And if other people don't see me talking about it, then they too stay silent. So it creates this spiral of silence that doesn't really reflect how people really feel. Because most of us at this point are a little worried or already extremely concerned about our future. And what happens there is that we're falling into what sociologists call pluralistic ignorance. It means that we believe that we hold a minority view, even though everyone else privately shares our view. But because nobody is showing it in what they say or how they act, we still believe we hold the minority view. And in situations like that, speaking up seems like a really risky thing to do. But the thing is that to change the lens through which we see the world, we need to hear about topics often, and we need to hear about it discussed based on values and not just facts, and we need to hear about it from sources we identify with and in different contexts. And that includes our friends and family, it includes the media, but it also includes our workplaces. So with 11 at 11, we can create a space where we can talk about the climate crisis and make it a safe topic for work. We can create this space for awareness about it. And even though those 11 minutes might not be very long, it might be the first time that someone has talked about the climate crisis in that week. And by doing it weekly, we also keep up the momentum. The second thing we learned was that 11 at 11 forms a community. When you think about climate activism, you might think automatically of like a certain type of person. But the reality is that we need everyone, not only one type of person or one type of group. We need tech workers at all levels, pushing for choices that are better for people and planet. We need people who build things to consider the most efficient and green ways of building them. We need people who are interested in finance, pushing for better divestment options and employee pensions. We need people to figure out what it would take to allow employees to take part in future climate strikes. So we can use those 11 minutes, even though they're short, to inspire each other, connect to each other, and find ways to take action together. Because for many of us, our workplaces are actually the biggest influences, the biggest space of influence that we can have outside of family and friends. At this point, I think it's also important to highlight that some people don't have the option to take 11 minutes every week to talk about climate. Not all occupations have the opportunity to choose when to take a tea break or to do so in a group. So doing an 11 at 11 climate strike can have consequences as well, especially in organizations or countries where employment laws mean that even just saying the word strike can put your job at risk. So the first thing to do might be to just test the waters. Learn how your organization reacts and responds to the idea of 11 at 11. And then once you're organized around that small act, what else can you do? Can you form a green team to tackle the internal carbon footprint? Can you get together in an action group to push for better pensions? Courage calls to courage. Whether you're starting 11 at 11 at your company and you're only letting co-workers know internally, or whether you decide to share it with the world and tweet about it. You don't know who you will influence or who you will inspire to take more climate action. So join us in breaking the climate silence and in inspiring each other. Test the waters and start your own 11 at 11 at your workplace. 11 minutes at 11 a.m. every Friday.